Everybody, welcome into another episode of the Deployment Dudes. We are just guys being dudes talking all things deployment. I am your host, Scott Hutter. Joined with me, as always, my colleague, Phil Fannin. Phil, what's up?
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm groovy.
I'm excited about this one today.
Are you?
Yeah.
More so than our others?
Well, I just think this one's going to be a little bit, we're taking a little bit of a different tune on this one. So usually we're talking about the intricacies of field services,
See,
right?
you say tune, and I want to break out into song.
Go ahead. Let's
Should I
hear
do it?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what to come up with. Now you put me on the spot, and I'm like, stage fright.
Did he not just put himself on the spot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I blamed you.
Okay.
That sounds
What
like
about how about Springsteen?
See, there you go. You're embarrassing me. That's not good. Can we get back to what we were excited
All right,
about?
just think about that. Yeah. Yeah. So usually we're talking about cabling, infrastructure, which that's been my life, your life, our entire career. It's kind of hard to,
Field services.
yeah, it can be challenging to make interesting on a week by week basis. There's only so much you could talk about in structured cabling, right? Although, like everything else, it's constantly evolving. But I think on this one, we're going to talk a little bit more about business development.
Oh, I can't wait to see where this is going.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
What about it?
where to even begin?
Tough?
For our listeners out there, I don't know if we've ever told the background of our stories. So I started my career in 2012 as an inside sales support rep at a company called Contingent. And the leader and gold standard for our sales team was a young Phil Fannin.
That's not where I thought you were going.
Yeah.
Aw.
On the record, a compliment to you.
Crediting
Yeah.
me with that? That's
Yeah. So Phil has sort of been the
probably owe you
Mr.
lunch now.
Yeah. Phil's been the Mr. Miyagi to my Daniel son. We've been through a lot together. Thankful that we've been 10 plus years at this now. But I think over that decade, and even more so in the last 2 to 3 years, we've really seen some changes and just how people buy things and consume our services.
What a topic. I think we can get deep with this.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
I'll start with this. I started at Kinetics 3.5 years ago.
Mhm.
Right. And the way I was selling and doing things then compared to two of our new sales reps we just brought on that are about a year in, just the dynamics in that 2 year difference period, I, it's extraordinary. And a lot of it does tie into AI like most things, but just the way that people buy things nowadays, it's like pouring fuel on a fire.
How so?
Well, I think there's the traditional sales model, which is more of like a push mentality. Like back in the day, maybe you weren't hitting your numbers, and manager would ask, "Well, how many calls are you making?"
Dial more.
Yeah, I'm making 200 a day. All right, make 300 a day. That'll solve it.
Right.
Okay, sure. Yeah, and I always prided myself on being able to do that. There's a thrill to the hunt. I mean, a lot of the people you're trying to sell to back then, it was still nowadays it's even more crowded with how much outreach that, buyers are getting. But even back then it was highly competitive. So the thrill for me was crafting some sort of cold outreach in a creative or unique way that could cut through all the clutter and get their attention. Like that to me is always so exciting when you throw a Hail Mary out and you spend a lot of time crafting this perfect email and then you actually do get a response. But I mean, historically those are even 2-3% response rate is really good. And I think nowadays it's half that, if even that. What do you think?
I've been doing this 30 plus years, and I can absolutely tell you it's way different than it used to be. And when you ask about like what been the biggest catalyst change that's that I can't put my finger on exactly if there's one thing or not, but buying habits or buying personalities have absolutely changed and evolved. And I think there's a lot of things.
I have one.
Okay, go.
I don't know if this is the primary one, but this is definitely a big one. Is I think back to my very early days, and I would sit. I was inside sales rep getting trained, and my manager, who was a sales guy, we shared a cubicle wall, and we would sit there and we would just make cold calls back and forth all day.
Mm.
And we would even stay late in the office and make cold calls to the West Coast because those people were still in the office. So back then, you could call people because they were in office at a desk. They had a desk number, right? Since COVID, that's drastically changed. People aren't in offices. They don't have desk phones anymore. They have their cell phones, and now calls are getting screened. So the ability to call and talk to a receptionist and build rapport with her, and then get her to transfer you to the decision maker,
Gatekeeper,
gatekeeper.
right? Yep.
Yeah, those days are nearly gone.
Secretaries, they don't hardly exist anymore,
Mhm.
right? I was gonna say COVID. COVID's changed a lot of things. It's made people rethink about how things have always worked in the past, but they don't necessarily have to. And now they've figured out other ways, right?
Yeah.
But look at the advancement of technology in itself. I There was a day back in my early years of getting involved in this business was almost call center like. And the way you would get the messaging out there, at least in the my cables to go days, is they'd put out a catalog like a
Sears.
Sears catalog.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it had all kinds of peripheral, and connectivity devices and cables and switch boxes and like all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah, hang on. On that note, I want to ask our young producer here.
does he know what a switch box is?
No, I was gonna say, if I say, well, do you know the company Sears?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you know what a Sears catalog is?
yeah, it's like what they mailed you.
Okay. All
Oh,
right. Surprised me on that one.
I'm not that young.
he's got Google.
Yeah. I don't know. Not that young. I mean, those things stopped going out like a decade ago, right?
Oh, at least. But yeah, but that's what used to happen. And so we had an 800 number, ACD, and those those catalogs would get mailed, and all of a sudden the phone's ringing, and
Mhm.
you're there taking orders, and you're upselling or whatever as you had them on the phone, and you're paying attention to what they're asking about, and you're recognizing other things that kind of go along with that. And that's how it used to be. And then it starts to move to the internet shows up. Now you can kind of go and you can start finding this stuff on your own. It's not coming to you. You can now go out faceless and you can start looking for what it is that you're wanting or
Yeah.
whatever.
But it was Yellow Pages before that. And then the internet,
Yellow,
Google was like Yellow Pages on steroids.
exactly. Yeah. Then you start getting into the automation stuff, right? Where you can have emails going out and you can prompt it and you can set it up and you can have a contact list and you can have it now starting to flood, and then you can get nailed for spamming,
Yeah.
or
Like a
whatever.
mail shake.
Absolutely. So then now you've got AI. AI is getting involved in this, and it's taking, and what I feel like I see happening is because those tools, as somewhat brilliant as they are callousing the audience. It's too easy, it's too impersonal, and they just absolutely get flooded, and it's so much noise you can't even decode what it is that might actually be interesting, and you might have a need for,
Yep.
because it's so involved. And so what I found myself having to do, or I always have done, because I'm still old school, I guess, but is leveraging those past relationships. And people, they take they have different jobs, they go to different jobs, they have or onboard different companies. And if you've treated them right and you had that relationship from the past, chances are they'll carry you with them.
Yeah.
So, or you've worked with other people that can even open a door for you and give you sort of that instant credibility. But I feel like you just can't do that with today's automation and the desensitized approach that offers.
Yeah. The cold outreach stuff is tough. I mean, I think it's really challenging for salespeople entering the market, right? Because they're not going to have a established network to get referrals from.
Right.
So, where do they start? Um, I think a lot of it is now it's trade shows are still really popular. kind of get your face out there and meet people. That person to person interaction will never be topped, in my opinion. Um, and I saw on LinkedIn one sales guy on LinkedIn. He was having a lot of success with snail mail because there's so much email spam. He was sending out,
It's so rare to
yeah,
actually get a letter from anybody anymore that when you get it, you've got their attention. That's brilliant.
he was sending out like company brochures, but then along with it, he would do a handwritten note.
Huh.
It was having a ton of success with it. Just because, yeah, to your point, it's so rare. Nobody's willing to spend the time to do it anymore.
The trade show thing, it got me thinking too. What else has changed is you remember the days when you would schedule to put yourself on a flight and go and visit a customer because people were in the office.
Hmm.
You would have a meeting in a conference room and you'd make your pitch and you'd talk about whatever it is, and then you'd go out to dinner or you'd go out and have drinks or you do, all of the above and do something entertaining and fun to help try to build that relationship. That's becoming incredibly rare.
Yeah,
At least in my world,
yeah.
it's becoming rare.
When I first started, you would never do a significant amount of business with somebody until you met them in person
Yeah.
and build that in person rapport. Now it's almost the opposite. They have a need. You can build some rapport through like Teams and being on in video conference with each other, so you can see them. Um, but now I'll do work with customers for months or years, and then I'm like, we've never met in person. Like I gotta come out and grab dinner with you or something. It's bizarre. It's a complete 180.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many that don't work in the office anymore, right? They're all remote somewhere else.
Yeah.
And again, technology changing that. You can have a Zoom call, you can have a Teams call, you can video chat. And so what I'm trying to figure out, like, is this evolution, is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? Is is the way that buyers are buying things, is it eliminating the business development, or is it just changing to the point where you're having to adapt now to the new buying habits?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's better for buyers, right? I mean, nobody likes being spammed. So I think buyers now, it's in their control when they want to buy something. It's really easy to do research or um, a AI prompt to get good information and some options. I just did it on. I was having the carpets professionally cleaned at my house,
Hmm.
and I just went into ChatGPT and I said, like, give me some tips on how I should source this, give me some good local companies, and spit it all out. So I think it's from a buyer perspective, I think it's good. They know how to find it on their own and can buy things on their terms when they're comfortable with it. They're not getting as spammed as much. For sellers, I think it's just more challenging. And I think it's just you gotta adapt or evolve. Um, and it may not be challenging for people who are entering the market in these conditions, but for somebody who's been selling that way for 10, 20 years, asking them to completely change what their approach has always been, I think will be a real challenge.
Yeah, and I also think it's good for like companies like ours, for example. Um, not incredibly deep pockets. We're not publicly traded. We don't have gobs of money to just spend, you know, frivolously. And if you can, if at least for your first start of a conversation with people, that you're not jumping on a plane, per diem, hotel, car, all those added expenses, right? I feel like the Teams chat, the video chat really helps at least soften the beachhead and keep the organization from having to spend a lot of money on a what if, right? Without anything really being baked to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, this is a really good opportunity. It's a great chance for us to do things that we can solve these problems. You know, being able to determine that in a very inexpensive way doesn't inconvenience anybody, doesn't put the customer on the spot, and feel like, oh man, I don't know who these people are. They're coming in.
Yeah.
I got to spend time away from my family for somebody that's completely an unknown or
Yep.
whatever. I mean, those old days, so I kind of like the evolution of how that has developed, saving the money, keeping the prospect in mind of not pulling them away from your family on whether or not this is a wild goose chase and has no business or whatever.
Yeah, I remember this is probably like pre-COVID. I got an opportunity to meet with a client, a big prospect in Memphis, and um, the meeting was the next day. So I rented a car and I drove 10 hours, whatever it is, to Memphis. Um, went to sleep in my hotel, woke up for the morning meeting, and my section of it was part of like a broader company overview that we were pitching to them. But my part, since I got added to the agenda last minute, was at the very end. Time ran over. There was no time for me, but I felt like I had to say something. I just drove 10 hours. So I tried to work it in, and they were open and receptive to hearing me out. But the main person that was the decision maker was out of the office. So then I got some good Memphis barbecue. I hopped in my car and I drove 10 hours back to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I have had a similar experience, and I always call it the world's most expensive lunch. And had a prospect on the phone, kind of talking about what we do, and very similar to what they already had, but they were having some current, issues with their current provider or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, come on out. It was Kansas City. Okay, so straight flight, Cincinnati, Kansas City, no big deal. But go and sit down, you talk, you have lunch, you immediately turn around and fly back, and just lost opportunity costs, the hard costs of the flight and everything else I mentioned, and nothing came of it. you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, fast forward to now, you could siphon through that easy
Yeah.
and determine that and not have those kinds of expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. I've one more I was thinking of. I flew to Rhode Island to do an RFP presentation after we put our bid in, and our flight got delayed like 2 or 3 times. So by the time we got to Rhode Island Airport, it was our time to present, and they couldn't move it because they had all these different companies coming in to present that day. So I flew to Rhode Island, found a spot at the airport, gave my presentation on the phone at the airport in Rhode Island, and then got right back on a flight and went back to Cincinnati. So I didn't even go to their office because I didn't have the time.
Maybe you could have hitched a ride with Harry and Lloyd and Mutt Cuts and on their journey to Aspen. Boy, times have changed. I will say that.
Yeah, I think the other interesting thing is, and we've been evaluating this year, is where do you invest your money and your resources on the sales side? So you're thinking like, do we hire more like SDR type resources to do like the cold outreach
And
on
SDR
LinkedIn and
stands
email?
for
Sales development rep. Is that right? Yeah, I should know. Um,
all these acronyms.
I know,
just have
I
to
know.
ask.
So we're thinking, do we invest more in the cold outreach? Which at least with that, you do get some control on which verticals you're targeting. You pick your ICP, another acronym, ideal customer profile. So it's that, but I think what we decided to equally invest in this year is our SEO. So instead of the push, it's more of the pull.
Search engine optimization.
Search, yeah, God.
There's just a ton of them.
I know. And when you've been doing this for so long, you don't even realize you're doing it.
I know.
Yeah. So we've invested more in SEO. I think it was like 60-70% of our leads were coming from AI search engines. So yeah, so there's just two different approaches, that pull or that push. And I think we're starting to lean more towards the pull. And that's why we do things like this podcasts. You got to get your name out there, branding, constantly be on people's LinkedIn feeds. Just times are changing.
Make it available and let them go find you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I wonder too, I mean, I have friends that work in sales in other fields. It sounds like a lot of what I'm experiencing, they're experiencing as well. But I'm just curious, is this an industry thing? Is it a Is it a B2B thing? Is it also is this happening on the B2C side of things as well? So I'm curious, anybody listening to this, if you're in sales, what you're experiencing out there.
Yeah, I'm going back to the one of the comments that you made about, if you're dialing 200 calls a day and it's like, okay, that's not working. Well, then bump it to 3. It's like, it's like, and I'm an analogy guy, but I'm thinking like, okay, if I'm driving my car and I have vertigo and I'm having challenges, oh, this is what'll fix it. Drive faster. Take those
Yeah.
curves at even higher speed.
Yeah.
That should fix it. Like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why this is important for not only sales, but sales managers, right? Because that's still how a lot of sales managers manage their team. It's based on metrics like that. How many calls are you making, right? And is that
It's
really?
always been a numbers game,
It has.
right?
Yep.
Do you think it still is? To some degree?
To some degree. I mean, you still got to put in the activity, but I would argue that, 15 well curated, researched emails are more effective than 150 just cold blasted out generic emails.
Work smarter.
Yeah.
Another analogy that I like is, at the end of the day, like going out in your yard and raking leaves in March, right? When the wind is blowing all over the place. Yeah, I'm working hard. You come in for lunch and you got blisters on your hands and you're sweating and you're tired and you look out the window and you don't have a single pile anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, don't rake your leaves when the wind is blowing, right?
Yeah.
Be smarter about how you're approaching this.
Yeah.
Don't be the guy or the gal that's out there and it's just blasting 1,000 emails in a spam format, and then when you're not getting any responses back, scratching your head, wondering, I can't. Why is this not working? Nobody's responding to me. It's as impersonable as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah, I think the buying habits are changing. I think buyers are smarter than they used to be.
Well, just the access to the information.
Access to the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. It's more
Exactly.
readily available. And like I said, even with AI now, like you do a Google search, you're going to get paid ads and you got to kind of filter through it and click on each link. With AI, though, you can prompt it to do a lot of that work for you.
Do you do that?
I did it with my carpet cleaning example.
True. And it worked?
It did. Well, I don't know. They're coming out next Tuesday.
Oh,
So.
well.
Yeah,
Okay.
follow-up podcast incoming.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We want to hear the results of the carpet cleaning.
Yeah. Thrilling stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the guy put a cigarette out on my carpet and burned a hole in it, and now there's a big stain. Like,
Yeah.
oh, thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
AI.
Chat. Yeah, thanks, ChatGPT.
I think what's the
What's the takeaway?
what's the moral of the story? It's hard.
I think so. I'm trying to think. I started working, 2012. So I think 2012 up until, and we talked about COVID changing everything dramatically, but 2012, even through like 2023, 2024. So the first like 10 to 11 years of my sales career, I mean, I made tweaks to my approach, but a lot of it was still like a numbers game. And a lot of it was based on cold outreach. And I felt like I was sort of dialed in on it and having success with it. But just in the last year or two, I've seen things dramatically shift. That's having me questioning if that's still even a useful approach anymore.
I don't know. I'm lost for words, which is rare.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I was curious what other salespeople think about this. It could be industry specific too, because we're reaching out to people all over the country, enterprise profile customers that a lot of people want to do business with them. So it's very competitive. If you're a local company doing work with other local companies, door knocking could still be very effective.
Yeah, and it's kind of my beef with responding to RFPs too.
Don't get me started.
They're necessary. I get it. There's you gotta go through it. But my problem with RFPs is that there is, I think, between any company in a specific industry, there are differentiators. But RFPs rarely let you be able to showcase those differentiators. They want pricing done a certain way. And if that's one of your differentiators, now you're boxed in and you're not allowed to be able to show that there's a different way to approach this from the way, if it's pricing or if it's structural or if it's operational or whatever the case may be. RFPs boxes everybody in to try to look the same. It's very, very difficult to be able to really get somebody's attention because of the structure of an RFP.
Yeah, and I've spent a lot of time on RFPs just in the last year, and you try to get creative with them and inject some sort of like storytelling into them. Like if you're doing like a company or overview, instead of making it just kind of black and white, you can try to make it more narrative. But I view them now as just, you know, something that we'll use our copilot for to spit out a response. We'll go through it, make sure it's clean, it answers all their questions, and that to me is just a starting point. And then, if we pass that, then let's have a conversation and really dig in.
Totally agree. It's a tool, very helpful, saves a lot of time. Totally get it. But think about that. The desensitization, it's desensitized
Hmm. Yeah,
in that approach,
yeah.
right? You're letting AI fill in all the answers of everything. And I don't know, there's two schools of thought of it.
The one thing I don't miss in RFPs is, yeah, 10 years ago when you'd get one, you'd have an RFP team.
Yeah.
You have an entire team of people, daily or weekly calls, depending on when it was due. You assign out all these different tasks and sections to people, and you have one person who's organizing the whole thing. And somebody's got to hold everybody accountable to make sure they have everything so you can put everything together by the deadline. And those are stressful and a lot of people involved. Now I think it's a lot simpler than that.
When you come in contact with other sales folks, do you feel like, has this changed in your mind? Do they come across more desperate and panicked, or do you feel like there's more of this relaxed approach and problem solving? But hey, if you like it, great. If you don't, oh well. Where as before, maybe some organizations put the pressure on not saying no, right?
Yeah, I think could be more of an industry thing. I also think it's how seasoned the salesperson is. Like I used to be that pushy sales guy back in the day because I told you I thought it was like a numbers thing, right? And that's kind of like the traditional sales approach is just push, 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 you know. Um, but I think some of it's industry specific. Like I know that's really big in logistics. They have a high churn rate there. They hire people in right out of college and just smile and dial all day. And you either sink or swim. So those people are desperate, pushing as hard as they can. But a lot of the salespeople I deal with now, they've been at this for 10, 20 years. The only way you make it in sales that long, in my opinion, is when you reach a certain point of maturity and number of years of doing it, is to detach from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way. Otherwise, you'll just be so stressed, you'll completely burn out and go work in something else. So,
Yeah, and you're no good to yourself, you're no good to the customer, and you're no good to your company
yeah,
when
can't
you're that way.
can't force people to make a decision. You can't force the timeline.
Some things are just completely out of your control.
They are. Once you understand that and you detach from the outcome, and your job is really just to ask. Your job is not to persuade them. Your job is to ask good questions that gets them thinking. Eventually, if you ask the right questions, they start to persuade themselves, right? Talk themselves into it. So you're not really doing any convincing or persuading. You shouldn't have to. You're just shining light on a problem, telling them how you can help, and then it's completely up to them.
Right. Good topic.
Yep. Any thoughts, Ryan?
Wow.